So I want to prove that these are equivalent. So let's do firstly first to second. So first principle holds for Sn. N is greater than or equal to n0. So what does that mean? It means Sn0 is true, and also that if Sk is true, then that means oh, maybe I should use a different letter. Like if Sm is true, then that means Sm plus 1 is true. Is valid. So use this k times. So that is use this k times with m equal n0. So we have if Sn 0, then if that's true, then Sn 0 plus 1 is true. And then if Sn 0, 1 is true, then Sn 0 plus 2 is true, etc. until Sn plus k. So kind of what's happening here, it's like the first principle lets you say k leads to k plus 1. And you just use that principle several times, use it again. And you kind of just group them all together and say it leads to the next one. It's kind of like the idea. So basically, you use the first one several times to stack it up to make it look like the second. Second to first. So that means that second holds for Sn with n greater than or equal to 0. So what that means then, Sn0 is true. And also, if Sn0, Sn0 plus 1, dot, 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 is true, up to Sk is true, that means Sk plus 1 is true. So you can kind of see the last statement is in there. Leads to Sk plus 1 being true. Yeah. So you're kind of like deliberately ignoring things. It's like saying, think of an example, maybe. Maybe I could put an example here. So in the first method, A, B, C, D, E, this says if the first one is true, and if any particular one is true, leads to the next one being true, then they all must be true. If that is valid, then it means you can say, okay, well, if the first one is true, the second one is true, and the second one is true, it means the third one is true. And if these three are true, then the next one is true. So that's kind of how it appears to look like the strong one. And then with the strong one, you're saying something like, okay, A, B, C, B, and A, they're true. And then the logic being that, for example, if B, C, D is true, then that means E is true. So if those three are true, that means E is true. But because D precedes E, it means also that, well, D being true means E is true. But D will be true at the same time as B and C as well. So I don't know, maybe I'm not explaining this so clearly. Definitely both lead to the valid conclusion that all of Sn is true, but it shouldn't be the case that you find a statement that you can prove with the first and not the second, or vice versa, that they are equivalent. It's quite easy, I think, to see how I mean, I wonder, are you allowed to say k equals n0? I don't know. The first principle being true definitely leads you to the stacking that you have in the second one. I'm just not personally convinced that the stacking leads to the first one, because you kind of feels a little bit like cheating, because you kind of ignore that you're focusing on the last one leading to the next one, ignoring this. I don't know. Maybe that's okay. Maybe someone can suggest a better logic here. I'm not entirely satisfied myself.